Hello, everyone. We have our first attendees joining. We're going to wait just a couple minutes for everyone else to join. But while we do, I want to introduce ourselves. I'm Vera from CloudTalk's product marketing team. And with me today, I've got Peter. He's our principal PM, specifically working on AI voice agents. So it's going to be great to have Peter talk about the way that we've built voice agents for events. And basically, this is one part of our series on voice agents. We call it CloudTalk Labs. We wanted to start this because we realized that there's not a playbook out there that's easy to follow for business users and that gives people some ideas about how they can use voice agents. So we decided to build our own playbook. Obviously, as we are building the voice agents and we are building new functionality, we are testing them all internally, and all of our teams are really excited about them and just want to try and use them in their own respective areas. Plus, we work with a lot of customers already. So we decided we're going to share the findings, including the ugly parts and the not so successful parts, so that you don't make those mistakes. So that's the whole point of this session. Peter, can you just confirm you can see my screen,
Yes, I
please?
can. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So with all of that behind us, I'm gonna kick it off with just a brief overview of the agenda. First, we're going to have a very short little quiz just to wake everyone up and make sure that you're all here with us and to see how you're going about events. We're gonna go through a quick overview of why this session and why we think event voice agents are such a big topic. And then Peter is gonna walk us through how the voice agent sounded and how we actually got it to sound that way, as well as do the actions that it's doing. And then we're going to share a couple of tips for you to take home with you after this session. Okay, before we begin, let's get you all on this poll. So you need to scan the QR code or just go to slido.com and enter this number here. And all we want to know is, how are you currently following up after events, whether it's webinars, whether it's physical events, maybe trade shows you're going to. How are you currently doing this? You have the sales team or like the marketing team hosting it, going there. But then what happens after? Are you sending just emails? Are you having your sales team manually follow up? Don't follow up? Or are you already testing some sort of AI automation? We've only got 2 people so far in. Let's make sure that all of you join, or at least a bigger portion of you. 4 already joined. That's great to see. We're just going to wait for a couple more to join, and you can already take your vote, and we'll go to the next slide to see how this works. Manual sales calls. Yeah, I hear you guys. I know we were going through the same thing, and we're going to share what's the issue with that. A lot of people don't follow up either, which I think happens a lot. Let's see, anyone else that wants to join before we jump on to the next slide? I don't see the number going up, so I guess feel free to join later and give your vote. It would be interesting to see how you're currently following up with people. Okay, cool. So now let's set the context and why we think voice agents for events are so important. And oops. And as you saw, like, a lot of people are doing either manual sales calls or they don't do any sales calls or any follow-up at all. But what we think is important, you spent all this time on this event. And event, just to give you the context, is any scheduled interaction that requires reminders before or follow-up after. This could potentially even be like you have people signing up for courses if you're in e-learning or edtech. But today we're specifically going to be talking about 2 types of events: physical events and virtual events. If you're interested in any industry specifically, make sure to reach out to product marketing at cloudtalk.io, and we will make sure to have a specific webinar for that particular use case. So physical events, trade shows, conferences, community meetups, anything where you send your team to the field, and virtual events, any sort of webinar like this one, right? And your marketing team or your sales team is putting all this time into creating the best possible content and having the best possible, put their best foot forward on the event itself. But what happens after is the follow-up breaks everything. So there's either no follow-up or it's manual and takes forever to get sales teams to action these leads, prospects, because they have other things to do as well. It's not just the event, right? This happened to us as well, and we want to share what we learned in this process. The post event is where we'll put most of our focus. The attendance reminders, those brought us great results. You're going to see some of these results throughout the presentation, but we're actually going to walk you through the post event setup and use case, because this is where the ROI happens, and this is where we've seen the process really breaks. You have sales, but sales don't have time. If you're slow, people are not picking up. You're reaching a lot of voicemail if you're calling outside of business hours, and just leads slip away. So we don't want this to happen. We want everything that you create to have the best possible chance of succeeding. So we faced the same thing when we were creating these CloudTalk Labs. We went to the sales team and we said, look, we're going to create these educational webinars, mostly for customers as well as prospects that want to learn. And we need to make sure that we close the loop. We need to make sure that apart from an email going out with a recording, we actually ask them, hey, would you be interested in a one-on-one session to see how this could be useful for you? Because it's such a new technology. So we wanted to make sure that they have one-on-one time with some expert of ours to see if that would be applicable to them. But the sales team said, hey, look, we are stretched too thin. Yes, we can do this, but not for hundreds and hundreds of people. So then we asked ourselves, okay, so what if we had a voice agent do it? And we actually did it. And now Peter is going to show you how that all worked and sounded like before we jump into the build. Before Peter shares this, I just want to remind you, you've got the Q&A below. Feel free to drop your questions if you have any. We're going to read them at the end, and we're going to have a short Q&A session. And with all of that, I'll share my calendar, which is where the voice agent is going to book a meeting. And let's hope it works, because we duplicated it before the event, and let's see if the setup is correct.
Yeah, live demos are always tricky. Hello, everyone. So let's first kick this off by actually checking how the voice agent works and sounds. So let me trigger a call to myself. Hello, just a sec. Hello.
Hi there. I'm CloudTalk's voice agent, calling to follow up on our recent webinar. Just wanted to check in and hear what you thought of the session. Did you find it helpful?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Awesome. We're offering short one-on-one sessions to help folks explore building a voice agent for their own business. Would you be open to a quick chat with one of our specialists?
Sure, let's do that.
Great. When would be a good time for you?
Tomorrow, 4 p.m.?
One moment. Please hold on while I check the availability of the time slot. Unfortunately, we don't have a free slot right at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Would 4:30 p.m. work for you instead?
Yeah, that works as well.
Please hold on while I check the availability of the time slot. Thanks for waiting. I've booked your meeting at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow, and you should get an email confirmation shortly. Thanks again for joining the webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Going back to the presentation. That sounded great.
So now let's look at what it actually takes to build this. We didn't start with a full-fledged solution, as you just heard, because with our first webinar, our product marketing team reached out to me like 24 hours before the webinar, asking like, we need this voice agent and we wanted to do this and that. And you got to love them for that. One of the many reasons why we love our product marketing team, right? But to be honest, it's not feasible to run the full setup in 24 hours, especially with already packed agenda. So I did what any product manager worth his salt would do. I descoped their solution. So we sat down and we ID'd, okay, what are the actual must-haves for the first iteration? Let's see whether it works. Let's see whether that brings value. And if it does, then let's iterate and build on top of that solution. And that's how we approach not only our product development, but also how we recommend our customers go about their voice agents. So iterate and improve. So for our first phase, and just a reminder here, what we wanted to do was call the customers who signed up for a webinar before the event to confirm their attendance, and call them after the event to collect feedback and to offer one-on-one sessions with our onboarding specialists. To do that, we simply needed just a few things, right? We needed a sheet with a list of people who either attended or not attended. We adjusted the wording and phrasing slightly depending on your attendance. You need their phone number and you need their time zone because you don't want to be calling people during the night. That was a must-have that I didn't manage to cut off the MVP list. Having all this just pulled by our RevOps team from HubSpot into Google Sheets gave us a good start. And we built the whole logic in Google Sheets. Nothing fancy. I use the sheets to trigger the call. We use the sheets to store the answers, count the attempts. So you want to call those people several times because they don't always pick up the call, right? But you don't want to call them indefinitely. So we just build a simple counter as one of the columns here. And I just call the people that many times to check. And then I was like, okay, so you can take the sheet and take it back to CSMs or the onboarding specialist, and they will follow up on that. But I have few extra minutes, so I spotted a bonus option with Slack notifications because asking people to go in and check Google Sheet whether there's something new didn't seem fair to them. So at least we did Slack notifications because that's a 5-minute add-on. So people were receiving notifications whenever we received a new feedback or a request for a follow-up. And that was our phase one. It was not very glamorous, but
Yeah, we actually did get some great results. So just to recap, trigger was the sheet. We downloaded the list, gave it to Peter. He filled in the sheet. You should be able to do this if you're running webinars with any sort of provider. You can download the CSV with all your attendees, not attendees, so it should be quite easy. And then we were manually going through people so information was logged into this sheet and so on. For the pre-webinar voice agent, which the goal was just to remind people that there's a webinar happening and get them to attend. We actually had 50% attendance rate. If you've ever run events, this is like quite rare, especially with hundreds of registrants. It's typically around the 30-ish%, 35 maybe, but 50 is really high. So we actually saw the attendance rate go up and we booked some meetings. So what we do in marketing, and I'm pretty sure any marketer here joining us today or any salesperson who's worked with marketers know, after the webinar, we're sending emails. We're going to send you all an email with the recording. So in the previous webinar, we have a recording as well as a call to action saying, if you're interested in a one-on-one session, click here. We actually got 0% conversion rate on that CTA, on that call to action. So 0 people wanted to book a meeting from the email. Just in comparison, the voice agent that called them and managed to connect with people, it got 20% of them saying, yes, I'm interested in a meeting, let's book it. Obviously, it wouldn't be a learning session if there's not a problem somewhere in there. So we had a very big problem, which was the process after. Interestingly, it was the people side of things, the humans, that made this not fully work the first time. So the voice agent part worked really well. We got the list to Peter, the voice agent called them, it logged interest, I got the list back, and I went to the sales team and said, hey guys, look, we have all of these people that are interested in a call. Let's now log them in the sheet. Let's now call them as soon as we can and book the meetings at this time that they've said they want the meeting at. The problem was then we faced issues that we didn't think about before, which was how do we action the leads that are currently, the people that are currently have deals open versus those that do not? How do we approach customers versus non-customers? From the customers one, we have like CSMs, CSM managed, we have non-managed and so on. So it was like a big, many cohorts that we didn't get the answers for immediately. So it took a lot of conversations with the rest of our teams to figure out who should take which customer. So then that meant very slow actioning of what the voice agent did. And we also did not take into account that there might be some outreach happening already from the sales team, and we didn't want to duplicate that. So we didn't want to spam customers. So then I went to Peter and said, look, Peter, this was great as an MVP. I know the scale is not huge. It's not like tens of thousands of calls, but we need to automate this. We need to make it happen with a calendar so that we have the voice agent pre-screen before we actually give it off to people. And we made some changes to the process, which I'm going to walk through in a second. So with that, we're going into phase 2.
Yeah. So as Vera said, we saw some success, not some, I would say great success with voice agents actually doing the follow-ups. So we took it to the next level. I agreed, okay, now we have more time. You're not coming in 24 hours before the event. So let's do this properly. And I'm not gonna walk you through the whole setup in our HubSpot with our properties. First of all, it's rather complex and it's specific to all of you. You might be using very different tools yourselves. Plus, we are quite short on time. But let me highlight the important things that we considered, looked into, and solved so that you understand those can be solved automatically with our voice agents and with any meaningful integration platform. So what we started with is removing the bottleneck of people having to actually follow up, like CloudTalk employees having to follow up on the conversation to book the meeting. Like we can automatically book meetings in calendars. There was a slight descoping here, as Vera said. There are many people in our organization and many rules based on which the lead falls to that person, that's region, size, deal stage at the moment. I said that's too complex. If there are 30 people connected to this, that's overkill for what we're trying to achieve. So we successfully negotiated. There are like 2 or 3 people who are currently handling all the follow-up. So we've connected their calendars and we have a workflow where based on the data we have about the contact, we pick the right person to call them, and we're offering availability in their respective calendars. So whether you have 1 person or 50, everything is doable. It's just like the setup is a bit more complex with 50 people, and it didn't seem worth the effort at this point. Maybe for next rounds, or when we do season 17 of our webinar sessions, we'll have 50 people connected to the calendar, right? But the important takeaway here is like we agreed on a set of people and the voice agent is instantly booking the calls in the calendars. That's what you saw on the demo we showed at the beginning of the webinar, and that removed an extra iteration between the customer and the onboarding specialist, and it fast-tracked everything. We also implemented the rules to avoid over communication or bombarding the customer too many times and avoid open deals. Again, this is based on your use case and it's very specific for each of you. But the thing to consider is, do you really want a voice agent to call that person for 4 hours after they already spoke to someone from the BDR team, or they are already in a communication regarding your particular topic? For us, it was voice agents, right? So if they have an open deal with our sales team, then we don't call them. So those rules, those exclusion rules that ensure you're not crowding the customer can simply be set up and configured with this extended or proper flow where the calls are not just triggered from Google Sheet, but they're actually triggered from our CRM where we have all this information. So it was just about collaboration with our RevOps team to ensure, okay, so those are the rules, those are the properties that we should fill in, those are the properties we should base the triggers on. And this all falls nicely in place. And you have this set of rules, and then you only call the people who fall into this set of rules. So points 2 and 3 are mostly about making sure you don't call people too many times and you avoid the ones you shouldn't call. And yes, I could show you our very big flow and 27 properties that fell in place, but that's not important at this point. And there are onboarding teams within CloudTalk who can help you with that when you're setting your voice agents up. So don't be afraid of this step. It's just important to understand, like with proper integration with your tool of choice, it's super easy to make sure voice agents follow those rules. And last but not least, one thing we didn't really handle in the first phase and make sure to handle in the second based on the results, well, you people don't pick up your calls. I don't either. I have 3 missed calls by the time we're sitting here. And you all speak different languages. And that was that was tricky for in our initial phase, but now with all the releases we did in the meantime, voice agents can now speak all the different languages and they can detect voicemail. So with our new setup, if the voice agent reaches a voicemail or reaches a person who speaks different language, it reacts accordingly and doesn't necessarily speak for 10 minutes with a voicemail. It's just instructed to leave a voicemail drop saying, I was calling regarding XYZ. I was going to offer you a one-on-one meeting. You can either reach back or we'll try again in XYZ hours. So those were some of the improvements we did for our second phase. And we're looking to see the results and hoping for improvement. Vera, am I forgetting something here?
No, you did not. I just want to recap everything so that it's not as complex as we made it sound, maybe. So first things first, you need to sit down internally and figure out what you're planning to do. So what is the outcome you're expecting from this? Make sure that your processes and like you involve all the people that need to be involved, whether it's working with sales, with marketing, with RevOps, with product, whoever needs to be involved in this. Make sure that you have a clear understanding of the cohorts, and then you can basically create new properties or lists in your CRM, whatever works, or Google Sheets. We had a question here about Google Sheets. I think we answered it, and it's understandable. Google Sheets is a possibility as a trigger. So whatever you want to trigger this can, and also know what you want the outcome to be. So for us, that was just logging interested, not interested, no answer, and then we would take action from there with our human team. For you, it would be whatever you decide it to be. And as Peter mentioned, you have this conversation internally, but you have our team that's actually helping you set this all up, and we'll ask those questions in case you're not sure where to start. Our team will actually ask the questions so that you know what to do next. Okay, so sorry. With all of that said, here are the 3 things that we would steal if we were you from this session. Number 1 is start with an MVP. Honestly, there are just so many things you can do with a voice agent. I am coming up with new ideas every day. I now want to run like close lost opportunity interviews and all that kind of stuff with voice agents. And I go to Peter and he tells me, wait a second, can you tell me what's the size of the cohort? How difficult do you want this? Do you want to make this? How long would it take us to build this? So just start with an MVP. Start with either making the automations less complex, so that you start with, I don't know, maybe one list, one person, and so on, or just choose a cohort that you want to action to prove that this works before you scale, because you don't want to put all these complex flows in place and then realize it's breaking somewhere simple and then you have to redo all of it. So think about this step by step. It's a new process, it's a new product you're rolling out, it's a new type of agent. So consider this just the same as you would if you're opening up a new department in your company. Then make sure that you test your prompts. The first agents broke apart or we failed because of prompts. We forgot about voicemail handling, or we forgot about the multi-language, or we forgot to tell it not to skip steps, for example. So even things that sound intuitive to you are not. This is still AI, this is still a machine. So you need to make it really clear what you want this AI agent to do. As I mentioned, you're going to have our team to help you build these great prompts alongside you and tell you if you're missing something. And then throughout this testing phase, you're going to, as you try to break it, you're going to figure out where it breaks, and then you're going to add that to the prompt. And number 3 is, I think what we talked about a lot is don't forget about the humans and the process. So voice agent cannot run in a silo. It has to be part of the human team. And that's what we're all about here at CloudTalk. We want to really create a product that you can use across your AI and human agents, both from like how you analyze conversations as well as how you run conversations and the handover process and so on. So that means that you need to have the cohort where you want to run this, you need to have those people bought in, and they should know what they need to do with the outcome that you have for that voice agent. Obviously, if it's something as simple as just having a voice agent collect feedback and log it somewhere, you might not need a team for that. But if it's something like a sales process, then you might need to include the team. So I guess those are our points for today's session. We are trying to keep this as short as possible so that you get new things every 2 weeks. But we have a couple of questions here. First of all, for some of you, Slido code did not work. I'm so sorry about that. We will send the webinar PowerPoint after this. It was just to get this started. We have a question here, Peter. Do you plan to add N8N integration?
I would need to understand better what you're trying to achieve here. As far as I understand it, N8N can trigger an API request when needed, and you can trigger the voice agent and run the calls through API. Native integration is currently not on our roadmap, but if we see demand and we see added value there, we will definitely consider that. We see this as growing and expanding integration platform among our customers.
We already have +2 for the N8N integration. So that's great. We might reach out to you guys in case we need some more feedback and more product discovery. We might reach out for you to give us like the exact thing that you would need. But I would suggest you get together with our support team and with our team and see if this is actually possible already with N8N. Peter, do you plan or intend to have acuity scheduling with the voice agents? I think this is some sort of software. I'm not familiar with it, but in terms of scheduling, what's currently available, could you share with the
Acuity scheduling seems like that's actually a booking software. So any scheduling software that has an API is already integrable with our voice agents. We don't have any native integrations with Google Calendar, none of those. But what you saw in the demo is us actually working with the Google Calendar through an API. The voice agent can make any API requests during the call. So as long as Acuity has a public API that can be used, we can integrate with that.
That's great to hear. Cool. Do you support international phone number for calling using local country number? We do.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So just like a human agent would, the AI voice agent works the exact same way. You can assign it a number, it can call locally, and people can pick up.
And you can either pick a specific number you want your voice agent to use, or you can use our like automatic option, which basically tries to find out of your pool of numbers the one that's best suited to call that country. So if you're calling to France and you have a French number, it will pick that one.
Awesome. Then we have a question around the amount of the languages that are available. We have currently around 60 accents and languages. Is that right, Peter?
Yep. That it's a combination of, I think it's around 40 languages themselves, and each of them has some accent nuances. Some of the languages are slightly different, even though it's same language, then in different accent, they actually have different words. So we're addressing all of this. And yeah, I think the combination, it's definitely over 60.
Okay, awesome. Cool. We have a question around a recording. Yes, a recording will be available. I'm going to send that over tomorrow so that you can share it with your teams as well. And also, it would be great when you receive my email, if you could reply with your feedback. If you have any feedback on these sessions, we're trying to make them as tactical as possible. But obviously, with 20 minutes, this is as much as we can do. So it would be great to hear what you would like to hear next in the next sessions, or the level of detail and so on. If you don't receive my email, it might mean that you are unsubscribed from our mailing list. In that case, just reach out to productmarketing@cloudtalk.io and we'll make sure to resubscribe you so that you start getting these emails. Okay, I think we're at time. Thank you so much for all your questions, and thank you so much to everyone that attended. Next session is on September 23rd, I believe. You will get the reminder in the email that I'm going to send. That time, we're going to be talking about how we turned the numbers on the website. You know how everyone has some number on the website, but no one really picks it up. We have a bunch of local numbers on the website, but after hours, it was really difficult to have someone cover that. And we actually built a voice agent for that. So now the voice agent is either creating tickets for the support team or is creating opportunities for the sales team. So next session is going to be all around it. I'm going to be joined by our CMO, David, who worked on this, and then Peter as well, and we'll walk through that workflow. Awesome. Have a lovely day, everyone, and see you in about 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. See ya.